see the possibilities of what I could do. Then when I look outside or I look at people or whatnot, I just see repetition. I just see the same old, same old. I see sadness. I see disconnection, and then eventually, like that to me is hell. Like just being locked in a state of, this is it. There's not much more to speak on. But then
a truncation of possibility, basically.
What's truncation?
Sorry, like a term, like that there is no, that it's like this is all that there is kind of feeling, that there is no like hope, for lack of a better word, for like new exciting possibilities.
Right. It's like these are the possibilities you have, and it's just sort of degrading from here. It's like there's some level of entropy, things fall apart, and you, like more specifically me, don't have the ability to repair and improve upon it. Right. Or if I can repair, it's futile because it'll fall apart. It's like, I guess maybe it's more connected to NI because it's like, well, whatever experiences I'll go through, it's just sort of a sense that there won't be any meaning to gather from it. And I think those are the times where I need SE or some new occurrence, because I'll find that I can sort of draw out meaning from that. But if I'm locked in my head too long, then yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Sorry for making it moist, Audra.
No, this is.
I was zoning out.
It's oftentimes people don't talk about this kind of stuff, especially guys.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is like I could talk about this for quite a while, and sometimes I do. I talk about, I think I'm feeling this, or I think, but it's just a lot of fucking fluff around. Really, like it's me just talking. Like I'm using talking, or I'm using thought as a sort of coping mechanism for these feelings, which really I just need somebody to be like, okay, let's go do this other thing, or like,
yeah,
like let's
someone to draw you out of your head where you're thinking about all that kind of
right. That's exactly why I was like, I don't know if I'd ever want to hook up with an introvert. It would have to be a very special introvert, because it's like I got too much on my own plate in terms of introversion, and there's like too much ability to just be sucked into the Stygian void.
That's how I felt too. Like I realized that to a certain extent when I was dating that autistic person. And I know it sounds like kind of stupid, but it was like I was the one that was being spontaneous and like driving everything to action, and I'm the introvert, right? It was like, this is stressful, like,
right.
Who's gonna help pull me out of my head,
Well, it's kind of thing, and I think it's kind of why I get attracted to, I mean, more so than just like a romantic relationship or anything. I think it's why I get attracted to some of the FI polars. Not all the ENTPs, but some of them just for like hanging out with, just because it's like that. I don't feel like I need to generate for them the will to live. Whereas I'm not kidding. Like I felt like that's been a pressure put on me for people in my life, or just people I've interacted with, where it's like, not only do I have to try to sort things out for myself, but they're in the gutter too. And now I feel like this pressure to try to come up with some sort of solvency or some sort of like brighter horizon. And it's like, without a lot of life experience, especially when I was younger, it just made it seem like, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? Like, how am I supposed to tell somebody, it's going to be okay? Because I don't necessarily believe that. And I don't have life experience to back up why it would be okay.
Yeah.
Which kind of concerns me too, because when I read dual descriptions, it's like, not only as an INFJ are you supposed to be fucking psychic, you're also supposed to be happy and give people, like positive affirmation. It's like, to like in the dual relationship stuff, it's like if they're, if the FI polar is like feeling down, like if the ESTP is feeling down and whatnot, it's like, able to offer like advice on like how things will be better. And I'm like, but you kind of have to know that, don't you?
Right.
It's like, and what's like, I understand how it would work. However, for me, it's like, it's something that I struggle with, because it's like, I feel like a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm feeling down, or I got a problem or whatnot. And it's like, I don't really know enough about them, or I haven't interacted with them enough. So it's like, I'll try to give it a positive spin, but in my head, I'm like, oh, that your situation sucks. It's probably going to get worse unless you do something about it. And even if you do something about it, that may not fix it. So I don't know how to help you.
Yeah. That's always tricky, I guess, to handle. For me, like I empathize with you in that sense, like, because I also like, especially from like like an analytical perspective, it's like, well, I can't tell you that things are really going to be better, like, not necessarily.
But at the same time, when I'm talking about this stuff, there's like this thing where it's like, I want to be able to talk about it, and I want to be able to sort of haggle in terms of idea, like what I think about this stuff. But at the same time, I realize, I think it's through SE seeking that it's just an idea. And I want enough willpower, either generated through myself or sort of being helped out by having other people around me, like just have enough willpower at my disposal to be able to be like, okay, that's an idea, now let's do something actual, like, about it.
Yeah.
It's like, faced with this metaphysical concept, let's sort of like move on from there and decide how we're going to act in physical reality to either affirm or deny that outcome.
Yeah.
So really, where are the ESTP women at?
That's what you're looking for, huh?
I mean, I think, again, it's all fucking theory.
You need to, have some.
That's the funny thing about being an I, though. I'm like, it's theory. I get that it's theory. I'm craving some actual SE, like, concretizing. Like, yes, that is what it is. Like, inexperience, understanding something in the moment. However, there's like this weird NI thing where it's like, I understand, like, that this is just a thought, but I'm probably right.
It's funny hearing you talk about this, because I'm thinking, it's like, oh, I've had like lots of sex. Maybe I know what I want. And the more I started to think about it, I was like, yeah, I had all this sex, but I didn't like try and pursue like emotionally fulfilling relationships. So,
right, and I'm trying to track.
So I don't even really know what I want out of it.
Right, so I'm trying to track things on multiple levels. Like, do I even need it to be happy all the time for it to be emotionally fulfilling? Like, do I even understand what that would look like? Do I understand the effect that would actually have on me?
So, for this conversation was making me think of this post. Like, I just had this memory come back to me about like a post I posted in INTP forum like years ago. This is like 6 years ago. And everyone was like second guessing as to whether or not I was an INTP.
Did you turn up the moisture?
A little bit. Listen. I mean, read what I wrote.
Okay. I guess I gotta read all this.
Or sorry, it's like a wall of text. My bad. Maybe I should.
I see how it is. Fucking Audra, getting bored. It's like Inner Room 1.
Kind of came across as a feeler.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in a particularly like good spot at the time also when I was writing it. It wasn't directly related to what you were talking about at all. It was just something that I came up found. I was like, oh yeah. I used to try and talk to people about this shit. This is weird. I had all kinds of weird posts on this site. Looking back, I'm like, what the fuck? My intro post was really sarcastic. It was like, look at me, I'm interesting. But I was doing like facetiously because I was like, aren't we all supposed to be like INTPs?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I also had a post about lucid dreams of substance abuse or like use. Like, do you ever have dreams where you like in your dream you're drunk, but you didn't drink like before you went to bed, or that doesn't happen. Yeah, I've had dreams where like I'm like high or drunk in my dreams and I'm sober otherwise, and it's like I'm like as equally inebriated in my lucid dream as I.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. My heart's beating really fast right now, Ken. Started talking about the feels.
Mm-hmm. Have you abandoned us completely, Audra, or can we pull you back? Because I've been thinking about feelings all day. I don't know if I want to stay in this. I want to talk about some other shit, man.
Right.
Well, the other ones are talking about tomatoes and tomatoes, so you got to beat that.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to go to bed soon. I got to wake up and like go to the bank and do like adult shit, and then get ready to go to work. God.
Well, then go do your adult shit.
Well, the bank opens at 8:30, and it's like 1 now, so.
Oh yeah.
Have a nice morning. I'm not getting any sleep anytime soon, so I more or less texted in that I'm not coming to work tomorrow. So.
Well, tomorrow would be my first day of work. That's probably not going to work out for me.
It's probably going to work out for you.
Yeah, I'll just like,
I'm not feeling too well. It's like, it's the first day.
I'll just like, yeah, I called in tomorrow, but the trick is I'm just not gonna show up ever again. It's gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna be sick.
How many like sick days I have left because I'm planning on being out of there in like 3 months. So it's like, okay, like taking off like 2 6 days a week. That sounds like a good average, right?
2 or 6 days a week? Is that what you said?
2 sick days.
Oh, 2 sick days. It's like,
throw in like a 3-week vacation in there somewhere.
Do you actually have like a set number of sick days that you're allowed to take?
So I accumulate. I accumulate 7.33 hours of sick leave and vacation leave every 2 weeks. So I almost get a day off, 2 days off, credit for 2 days off every pay period. So it builds up pretty fast. So I have probably like, I think I've got I've probably got close to 3 weeks of vacation time right now, and I spend it all the time. Like I'm always taking off to go shoot or something. But and I probably got a month of sick leave.
When you finally quit, it's gonna be like, if people are like, but Audra, why? You just be like, at least one of you should have had good enough NI to see this coming.
Yeah, well, it's always weird because literally my boss the whole time I've worked there, like he's told me, he's like, you realize you could get a. He's like, you're technically really smart, and you're not socially awkward nerd, and so basically told him as our like, you could get a job probably anywhere. And then he's always like, now if there's anything, he just kind of subtly like comes in. He's like, is there anything, if there's ever anything that I can do, there's a problem.
Get a fucking letter of rec from that guy.
Oh, yeah, he's. I think he's basically like, he's not going to be surprised when I leave, and I'm going to talk to him probably in the next couple of weeks and be like, so this is my plan. And but yeah.
That's the thing I've started to realize about these quote like nerdier professions, is that even if you're like an introvert, in your case it's easier, but even if you're like an introvert, like if you just have an iota of not being like a super socially awkward person, you are like so far ahead of the pack if you also actually understand the shit that's like going on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting.
Because it's like, oh, you can communicate with other people. Like, that's what we need. Communicators. Having knowledge is worthless if it can't be communicated, oftentimes.
Yeah, well, it makes a difference. Like, the job I'm doing right now, like, that's a big part of it, is dealing with people. And, treating the PhD 2-year-olds like they're...
like, they're the special snowflakes they think they earned.
Yes.
I earned the right to be a special snowflake, and you're going to respect that.
I did something, therefore I must be smart. And you're like, but you're retarded on a computer. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up and I've done this in both my positions. Like, I always end up being like a freaking counselor for everybody. Like my not boss, but I work for a grant right now, and the person above me who is more or less in charge of all the paperwork and doing the it's not my actual boss, but he's actually responsible for the things that I end up working on. He's always like coming to me to complain about stuff, and I'm just like, pat on back.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm going to start billing you.
You're not going to do anything about it. I'm like,
you should just become a shrink, Audra, and just sit there and go, uh-huh.
I'll just like,
how does that make you feel? Uh-huh.
I'll just like, okay, so 2 solutions to your problems. 1, you need to blow something up. 2, you should try creating something.
Like, if you're not going to like hit the thing that's bothering you, then you should at least go blow something up and make you feel better.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get more of, man.
I have a friend who called one night. I don't remember if she texted me or my brother, and she's like, I need to blow stuff up. Like, can you guys help? We're like, yeah, come on over. That was funny.
Well, I think I am going to go to bed, Ken, but and Audra and Blanky. Hopefully, after my first paycheck, I'll be able to afford some lemons. That's something to look forward to.
Nice.
But anyway,
there's a dirty reason why he said lemons, Audra.
You're not supposed to.
I guess if there was.
Not supposed to explain it. It makes it better when you don't explain.
You don't have to explain. It was the way he said it.
The implication. Anyway, good night.
So, this is my favorite form of Audra communication, is one-on-one. Well, because quite frankly, it's conducive to not boredom.
Yeah.
Maybe, Audra. Are you saying that I am not conducive to not boredom for you?
I'm saying that I have yet to find anything that is consistently not conducive to boredom, so just generally skeptical.
I see.
Although you might be beating the mean at the moment.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? So it's like fucking TWFP, man. It sometimes I get on here and I'm like, oh yeah, it's just the people I talk to on the internet. But it's like once my NI actually fucking kicks in, I'm like, oh, this is like this is something. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but this is like a physical occurrence that is alluding to something else potential. It's like, I mean, in terms of social interaction and whatnot, because it's like we've seems like there's a lot of people, like when I talk to like Kodo on here and like other people, it's like, seems like you got a lot of angsty people that are fed up with the status quo, and then you got some other people who are actively going against the status quo, and it's like, yeah, no, it's great, join us. And I'm like, there's potential here for people actually teaming up in a viable way, and I like that because it is inherently, I mean, shit, it's inherently hopeful.
That's a good way to put it, but I agree. Yeah, there's go-getters around here, which is there's some ambition is the wrong word, but yeah, there's some hopefulness, possibly irrational, but at the very least there, and most of the people around here, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like for ambition, you kind of have to have shit figured out. I think for a lot of people, they'd like to get shit figured out. So it's like the ambition to find ambition.
It's movement forward, the desire to keep moving.
Right. Keep swimming.
Yeah. I feel like ambition needs a target.
Yeah.
Well, I don't identify as being ambitious, but yet but in a more wider sense, I probably am.
You're maybe not overtly ambitious, but I'm sure if the obstacles in your life could talk more frequently, there would be a more noticeable pattern of you breaking through them. So I think if there were more obstacles that were like, well, maybe talk's not the right word. If they fuck it. I'm sure I could spin this into something, but I don't need to. I'm gonna leave that analogy where it is. I'll move on to something else.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta do that every now and again. I like to squeeze the meaning out of what I can, but sometimes it's just not necessary. The other days, other times. Yeah. Just gotta be writing more and whatnot. I'm gonna get more work in some capacity, and I will. I'll get it in some capacity. Not sure if I want to replace the current job I have. I suppose I'll only really know that once I find something that's worth either keeping the current job I have or replacing the current job I have. But no, I need to be bringing in more income. I'll be getting a car here soon, which is nice. That'll expand options.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think pretty much just I want to save up some money, not a shit ton, but some, and I want to stay out of debt, and I just want to polymath until I have polymathed successfully enough that I can then, sort of travel about and sustain that traveling.
Sounds like a good plan.
It's not that I'm really attached to traveling. It's just that sometimes you have to go elsewhere to find new experiences. It's the routine that kills me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the polymathing sort of makes sense for me, because it's like, I think the Enneagram 9 exacerbates like the routine making, because it's like, it's a really easy way to fall asleep to what I want, I mean, like, I've been moderately antisocial for like 7 years now, where like since I was 15. Well, I mean, except I don't even need to explain it further. Fucking antisocial. That antisocial combined with not pursuing things that make me feel excited to be alive. Like, that's not a great combo. Especially since, now I could explain that further by saying, especially since part of what makes me feel alive is connecting with people. So that's why the antisocial thing isn't so good. It'd kind of be like you not like writing or, you know, competing in martial arts. It's like that. That's the effect socializing can have for me.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's easy. For anybody, it's easy to forget what. Or at least for me, like it's easy to forget, to lose kind of a handle on the relative like potency of experiences and things.
Uh-huh.
Like things dim so quickly, and you're like, You're like, wait, was that good? Was it? I don't remember. I can't tell.
Yeah.
It's getting bad. It's like someone always like after new things too. It's like everything dims so quickly. You're like, well, I might as well do something new.
Right. That was I do this stupid fucking thing. I hate it. I will act a particular way, or like, yeah, I mean, like I'll act in a particular way, like I regret something, but it's like a social thing that I'm doing, and after a while, I realize, oh, I don't actually regret that. To give an actual example, hanging out with Nick, when I was doing it, I was like, oh, I'm probably going to regret this later, or just had a lot of fear. That was until I got a hold of the Long Island iced tea. Then I very quickly after that wasn't so afraid. But yeah, that was nice. I realized probably not a good thing, which is that, if I just apply enough alcohol, I'm more fun. But it was like that next day, I was hungover, and I was like, I'm ready to do some shit. It's like I wanted more exciting things to go on. It's like that experience was like, okay, that was cool. But it was like I was already hooked on the SE. Like I got enough of a taste, and I was like, yes, more. And then I proceeded to spend 12 hours just sitting in his house, like waiting for somebody to come pick me up. And so it was like, then after that, I was like, I regret the experience. It wasn't good. It was, I should have done, just shit like that. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, I don't regret the experience. I regret not doing more shit.
I was going to say, regret's an interesting concept that, to me, is mostly a social construct.
Right.
I remember doing things, it was like, I basically, like, the way I put it is like, I gave up on regret. I gave it up. It's like once I don't see the point of things like that, then they don't bother me anymore.
Right.
Yeah. At best, like, and never really regret for doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Only possibility would be for like not doing something.
There's a somewhat scary idea in my head, which is that I sometimes struggle so hard to put things into a framework or to put them into a focus. And what I think about something or the ideas I have about it can change, like, sometimes within a moment. Or, like, over the span of a few hours. And I realized I got this heavy attachment to trying to make sure that things make sense in a framework. And I think I'm trying too hard to, like, I mean, I know I'm an INFJ, as MBTI would say, but I think I'm trying too hard to be a judgment type. Like, I think I'm trying too hard to view things through a framework, and that's not NI. Like, NI is not a framework. It's, as I've said before, it's like peering through the veil, but it's like it's like NI, especially combined with FE, it's like if there's an element that goes along with that, it's fucking water. It's like I need to be flowing, not like whatever the fuck else. But yeah.
Yeah, well, my traditions, being intuitive dominant is a very particular sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that being NI dom is related to this, but because I spent a lot of time trying to TI stuff. Like I've spent, you know, a lot of my life, like I would say, trying to make things make sense.
Yeah.
In a very like to be sensible, to be because that I was always way more focused on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still am to a great degree, but at the same time, I've realized over the last, I don't know, few years or something, like I've come around to realizing that I'm not a TI dom. I'm an irrational, intuitive dom, and that is okay. Like it's actually been very relaxing, like kind of realizing that, because in a way that makes the not making sense make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't have to be perfectly rational all the time. I don't have to make it make sense. I don't have to do the quote unquote smart thing all the time,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Like that explains a lot. It's kind of relaxing.
Kind of like on those polls that we were doing, like on the INFJ one, it's like I got voted as the most likely to be an ENTP magnet, but then also most likely like INFJ, like the most ENTP INFJ. And I was thinking about that. I was like, that has its upsides and its downsides, because it's like that's kind of cool, because it's like most ENTP, but at the same time, it's like if I'm utilizing an ENTI too much, it's conducive to exactly what I'm talking about, like this sort of like over expenditure of energy and like mental stressing towards trying to have those two functions aligned with some sort of NI vision of how things are, but it's conjecture. It's not actually aligned with how things are. It's, this is what they might be. But it's like almost like me trying to generate possibilities in my head instead of trusting that whatever physical possibilities that I actually encounter, that my NI will be able to responsibly engage in the moment. It's like I haven't been trusting that enough. And I don't know, I think sometimes I try too hard to be other types. And it's very strange because like even on this duality group on Facebook I was posting in, it's like I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be offering, especially when it comes to like, because when I talk about duality, I talk about often in terms of like romantic interest or like relationship, but there's also this other component, which is like the sort of the shadow side, that's taking place inside of a person. It's like, and I myself have a sort of decent interest in sort of internal duality, or just, sort of inherent duality in things. It's like, for me, I'm like, what is it that I'm supposed to be offering? It's like, I can sort of like when other people are utilizing their ego functions. So like, their top two, it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. Like, I sort of describe to them, like, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Good job. But then it's like, I don't apply that to myself. Like in IFE, I'm like, oh, what's that? It's like, am I supposed to be like psychic and tell people, oh, it's all going to be good. You don't even have to worry about nothing. But, yeah. I don't know. It's like, I feel like when I do give some sort of like good insight that makes somebody feel better, I wasn't expecting to give that insight. And it's totally independent of whatever sort of systematic rationalization I try to make.
Right.
And I'm
That
like,
trust,
fuck.
that leading intuition a little more. Like,
Yeah.
like it's one of those things. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't seem to. You're like just trusting this like random, mysterious insight generator type function. You're like, what the heck? And like, that's not so what's supposed to go on. 'Cause I've done, like I said, I've gotten more comfortable, and a lot of it came consciously, like just trusting my NE. Be like, hey, just roll with it. You're actually really good at this.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that, and you're like, oh, okay. But it's a little harder to pin down than like TI or something like that.
So something I'm also noticing is that I come on here and I talk to people a lot. It's like conversations like this really help me. Like, especially having you as a sounding board sort of helps. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, helps clear up what it is that I'm talking about. Because when I'm talking to somebody else, I have to make sure that things are making sense. Otherwise, I'll go, huh?
Right.
Whereas with me, things don't have to make sense. I'm just bouncing around from one thing to the next, and I'm not tracking whether or not it makes sense because I'm too interested in the new thing I'm talking about. Shit, what was that? Oh, right, yeah. It's like I talk to people and stuff, but I'm trying to ingrain in my head that it's like, okay, I need to understand moment to moment, even though it seems like I have some sort of grand vision or like I have some sort of like way that things are planned out in my head. What I need to understand is moment to moment, I change and I view things differently depending on the circumstances. Like it changes. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It changes. But it's like, I'm trying to develop, because it's not necessarily heavily present. It's something I need to develop. It's something I need to like sort of return to in my head, like this sort of mantra or like meditation on, like, well, I mean, the idea of flowing, or like there's something I need to return to, that I need to be able to return to on my own and like self-generate, which is like, returning to this idea of going with the flow or being present to something. It's like, it's a sort of foreign idea, and I realize it's entirely crucial to me being able to function. And it's so strange and it's so fucking creepy, because it's like, I understand that now, but I guarantee you at some point in the future I'm going to be sad about something, and it's not going to be on my mind, and it's going to be true, but I won't know that it's true because I won't be thinking about it. Sorry if that, like, that doesn't necessarily freak me out, but it makes me sad in a way, because it's like, because I'm sort of disconnected from that internal systematizing of, okay, this goes here and this goes there and this is how everything works, because I'm more moment to moment, even though I have this conception of, oh, I understand how things work, I'm moment to moment.
Right.
So it's like, I understand this now, but I won't feel it later, and I understand things as I feel them. Yeah, scary.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but I relate on a certain level, because, yeah, just the over time changes and the realization, yeah, the shifting.
Yeah.
And
So
I am what I'm thinking, but at the same time, that can shift from what I'm thinking about, and the way I'm thinking about things is always moving.
Yeah.
So other than the things that I've intentionally, carefully pinned down, most of it's up for grabs.
Right.
And because I don't have that, well, this is how things are, this is how I do things, or this is what I think about things, or whatever, most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can shift from totally different conversations or types of people or groups of people or whatever, and back and forth, and all works, but sometimes it's contradictory if you look at it all as a whole.
That's sort of what's scary, because it's like, as I've talked about, like, routines are the death of me. It's like I can get into them, and then after a while, that's truth. Like, I understand things as I understand my routines. Like, if things aren't particularly fun and things seem like it's just the same shit day after day, and I'm not experiencing directly new things, then I will get in my head, this is what reality is, because this is what I'm existing in. And this has been the routine, and I was doing it yesterday, and I'm doing it today, and I'll be doing it tomorrow. It's like it needs to be injected with that. Just other shit. Just okay. We're going to. I mean, honestly, it needs to be injected with days of me being on the internet like I usually am, and then stumbling upon some dude on the internet with some thing called Talking with Famous People, and he has a map gaslighter and something, and it's strange, and I can join now. And join something. Maybe I'll join and try to ease my way into it. But no, I joined, and the first night he's like, hey, wait, here we have famous person Ken. Just like that injection of just new novelty.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that particular thing.
Yeah.
But rather than things being the truth, it's almost. I don't even relate to that because it's almost the opposite. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
These things aren't true, and because I'm not that connected to whatever is going on. Because when things get boring and routine, they become unreal, more so than more real.
Right. So, as an extrovert perceiver, in the inferior position, that unrealness can linger for an unreasonable amount of time. And I feel like in some ways you can I feel like in some ways you can forget. Now that might be because I'm, 22 and I haven't done things in a similar fashion to say like you. Yeah, it might be that I may reach a certain point in my life where I've done enough that I can't really settle into that haziness like I used to. But it was especially growing up, for the past 7 years or so, it's I sort of just have gotten into a groove, and it's I've sort of, this is also pertaining to Enneagram 9, but sort of fallen asleep to what motivates me, what drives me, what I care about. I've sort of aligned myself with other people's agendas and being okay, they're doing this, okay, we're doing that. And I'm just sort of, it's flowing, but not in the right way. It's you're not like an alive fish going with the stream. You're not feeling the stream. You're just sort of like a dead fish floating in it. I painted that lovely picture, and I can't remember why. Because, moment to moment, so yeah.
Yeah.
That connected to something important, maybe, but I'm sure in the entirety of my life, I'll touch upon it again. I'm going to let that float down the river. But yeah, the whole mantra thing, just now, that thing, I could get really attached to the fact that, oh no, I forgot the idea. Oh no, it's going, and I could stress out over it. But it's really, I want to get in touch with finding this mantra for myself where it's okay, reconnect with whatever it is that makes me seek novelty. Because believe me, after this amount of time, I can trust myself to sit and ruminate on shit. I don't need help with that. I will do that. That is not the problem. The problem is seeking novelty. I need to reconnect with whatever mindset makes me chase after it.
Yeah,
So,
that's yeah. I don't know. Novelty's weird because it's hard to plan to seek it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's just it could really easily become another judging thing where it's okay, here's the plan, but really what I'm talking about is just being open.
Yeah, it is. And for me at least, it's about moving on the things when they pop up rather than just contemplating them.
Right.
And I've gotten better. The more bored I get, the more likely I am to just totally randomly do something.
Yeah, I totally have that fucking problem.
But I enjoy it. And I've gotten to the point, I know I've said this before, where I will do things even more quickly or impulsively in order to make them more exciting.
I mean, this may sound really fucking.
PI
Okay.
some of the fun out of things. Be like, no, just go, do it now.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want insight into how boring I've let things get, like tonight, I was almost out of gas in the car, and I decided I'm gonna wait till I'm at the gas station that's like right by my house. It was pretty close to E, and it was like it wasn't much, but I wasn't thinking about depressing shit. I was thinking about, oh shit, I'm gonna run out of gas. Oh man, I'm really gonna run. Oh man, it's like I gotta get to the gas station. It's like whatever like sort of stressful internal stuff that was going on. I wasn't thinking about that because I was too busy focusing on the actual occurrence that was going on. So it was like it was negating other shit in favor, like it was negating potential realities for like the current reality in front of me.
Interesting. When I'm out of gas, I'm like, I leave work and I'm like, oh, I need gas, and like I'm gonna remember to get gas. And then usually I'm like, more often than than you might imagine, I will get like 5 miles headed back towards home, and it's another 15 to the next gas station. And I will realize at that point that I didn't get gas, and so I have to turn around. Like I'm gonna get gas. I have like half a mile to go, and it's like no, I forget most of the time.
I'm a fairly
don't actually do a very good job of superseding whatever's going on in my head.
I'm actually a fairly useful and neurotic shotgun person, because it's like if you're driving, I'll be like, "Did you get gas?" You'll be like, "No," and then you'll like be driving by the gas station. I'll be like, "If you need to get gas, there's a gas station right here." Just be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, some people like that. They're helpful. You're like, oh, my sister's okay about that. I just always like pat myself on the back. I'm like, you know what I did? I remembered to get gas before it was empty. Haha.
Yeah, because what's funny is it's like I realized the situation I put myself into is not my preferred kind of situation, because I realized if I run out of gas, like I haven't been in that experience before, so I'm like, I'm not sure what the fuck to do. Like if I run out of gas, I'm just going to be out of gas somewhere by the house. I don't have a gas container in the back. I'm probably going to have to call somebody for help or leave the car where it is and walk the rest of the way home. Yeah. So it's like sometimes it's like that. I mean, it's funny as it sounds, even though it was just potentially running out of gas. That was probably one of the more reckless things, because it's like other people are involved in some way. It's like I might have to get somebody else involved to like drive a car somewhere, or I might just have to like, when I have to be, involving other people, because I could just like get a gas container, go to the gas station, and then just walk. I'd have to do a lot of walking, but
Right.
that way, I guess it wouldn't be. Sometimes I do worry though that like if I'm going to be reckless in some way, I don't want it to negatively affect other people, because I don't like it when people dump their shit on me. So it's like I don't want to do it to others.
Yeah, because I've done things like that, like run out of gas, or, whatever. It's like, but when the situation arises, it's like, well, it's done now, and what I need to do is get somebody to come, bring me gas. So, I guess that's what I'll do. And I don't like my mom and some other people, like there's this. Well, you should feel guilty that you had to ask for help or something, and I'm like, I kind of gave up on that one too. I'm like, it's not like you're doing it a lot. It's not like you're going away. But the situation is the situation. You might as well take advantage of the resources you have. I'm like, otherwise it would be stupid. So I gave up feeling guilty about that sort of thing too.
I kind of feel like in some ways, if you're engaging your ego functions well enough, if you just like, and I'm a bit more loose with the second one. So it's like, I'm not necessarily saying for you it's got to be NETI. I'm saying it could be like NETX. Like you can mix in some TE in there, but it's like if you're properly engaging the NETX, then it's like when people are like, oh, you didn't remember the particulars. You didn't remember that other stuff. It's like, and you should feel bad too. You're just like, no, I'm doing my job,
Yeah, because I've been fighting. I was like, oh, you should feel bad. I'm like, I don't get it. So
yeah.
And then the other side, you come to the other point. It's like, well, what is the point of feeling bad? I don't see a legitimate reason to feel bad, and I don't see the point of feeling bad. So just it's like you can like ti that thing out of existence on both sides, or at least I can. Which I don't know is kind of interesting. I'm like, I found lots of things I've given up on, like so I give up on this particular bad emotion and that one, and I really just don't do those anymore.
Yeah. It's why I'm excited to find SE DOMs around different places, and certain ENTPs too, because I'll be like, listen, if you help me do fun shit, I'll look the other way on the fact that you're kind of a terrible person. But it's okay. I say terrible person in a loving way. Ha ha ha. And then they're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
You're like, well, what do you mean terrible person? Just a really happy person. Like, do I have to be miserable? That's my theory. It's like, so if you're not at least intermittently miserable for some unknown reason, then you're a bad person. I'm like, well,
yeah, I know it is stupid. I'm not saying it's a good. I mean, part of the reason, like what I just said, in a way, it's wrong. Like, and I'm not saying like wrong and like but I mean like it's just not correct. It's like.
Right.
Like what I just said, like, oh, you're kind of a terrible person. That's my thinking because I had my own fucked up thinking from not experiencing enough in life, which is part of the reason why I need novel people to help me experience shit. So I can be like, oh, that doesn't actually matter.
Yep. It matters to lots of people, but it's like, yeah.
I understand that it matters to people and people matter. However, being wrong does not save you from like you feeling bad doesn't mean you're no longer wrong.
Right. And
now as a feeler, I understand there's more gentle ways.
Does feeling bad fix anything? No. Like after a thing has happened, you're like, basically my theory is if a thing has happened and there's a solution, then don't pussyfoot around and be all moist. Fix it. And if there isn't a solution, then nothing will help, so get over it. You're like, let's see, you're not solving it, so move on.
Yeah.
But I'm a terrible person.
But that's the trick, is it's like, I know I use the fucking term terrible person, and it's like, it's the terrible people are some of the best people. Because it's like they kind of have something figured out. And it's like, in a way, I kind of feel like when it comes to the FI polars, it's like that there's a lot that I find attractive. I also do realize that you guys are missing some shit. It's particular shit, and I don't exactly have it figured out. I know you're missing something, and I know I can probably help in some way. However, I'm fairly quick to spot where other people accuse you of being wrong, where you're not actually wrong. It's like people are like, you should feel guilty, and I'm like, not necessarily. I think they have it figured out better than we do.
That's one of the things. I can see why people want people to feel guilty, and people are. But I'm like, but on a on an objective level, you're like, see no actual value to this personally. So
that's the thing. Is it's like I'm talking about going with the flow more, and it's like I feel like I get way too caught up in feelings as they pertain to some grand vision, and it's like. It's kind of difficult for me to engage, or at least envision, because that's the problem. It's all up in my head, and I'm like, well, I don't see in my head where I'm using FE properly. But the problem is then it goes into some sort of introverted context of some sort of grand idea or like standard of what something ought to look like. But it's like if I'm actually in the flow of like dealing with stuff, then later I can be like, oh, I was doing that properly. But it's like, I'm sorry if I didn't exactly follow what you're saying, but I made a mental leap, and that's just where I ended up.
Works for me.
Well, That's good because sometimes my mental flow does not work for people, and they're like, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You got to make it more linear." And I'm like, "But being linear is death."
Well, it's one of those things. I can imagine multiple possibilities of what you might have meant, so
Uh,
that works. Or I can go on and be thinking about something else, and I don't really care.
So that's the thing. The fucking mantra I was talking about, man. That fucking getting back to it, getting back in the flow. Because sometimes, like, I'll feel like I'm saying a lot of shit, I'm talking, but there's this internal voice that's screaming. It's like, talk about something like Audra wants to talk about, or like, and it's not like a guilt thing. Like, oh, you really ought to. It's like, no, it's like, I like talking to the person. That's what I actually like. And in order to keep them around, I could probably talk about some things that they find interesting because it's conducive to the outcome I'm trying to get rather than some sort of internal standard of what's good or bad or whatever the fuck that means.
Right. I know what that voice is. I got rid of that one too. My mom had to implant it in my head. I've seen her like try to my dad.
Help me, sensei.
She was always like, "You need to quit talking to those people. Like, stop talking. Like, they don't want to listen to you." But then I found out that people actually do like to listen, and it's like, so what is it? It's not my place to decide if they want to be listening to me because I'm not holding them to their gunpoint. They can always leave.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically that's my theory on that one. It's like not my responsibility. And it's removing their own freedom and responsibility to try to take that on, to try to make that decision for them. So, yeah.
I feel like there's this interplay between second and third slot, FE and TI, and like when it's reversed. So it's like, creative TI, tertiary FE, creative FE, tertiary TI, where it's like, this might be my intuitive well now, because in either way it'd all be irrationals that would have that set up. If you got the creative or tertiary set up for TI and FE, then you're an irrational of some sort. So it works. Yay! I feel like that there's this vibe sort of thing, or like wavelength aspect to it, where it's like you got to have some sort of like FE going on in there, where it's like, we're feeling something. Maybe it's just like general interest. Maybe it's like, it's getting really kicking off. Like there's a lot of fun going on or something. And then like TI is just there, not just there, but it's like it's this other component that's like, yeah, this isn't totally like just nonsensical. It's like this has a place, or this is like just, I don't know, it's like the systematizing or like marking of, okay, this is that's this is what this is, there's that. And then like when we're talking about different stuff, we're displaying in different ways, but okay, this is like it's pointing out the particulars and the nuances of different things, but it's like you can be talking about stuff, but it like there's also this, I'd say, need for it to be fun in some way. So it's like internally there, I noticed I was dragging on for a little while, and I was like, I kind of run a wrap of what I'm saying, because even though I might be expounding on something in a TI sort of way, it's not conducive to this other FE aspect of like keeping the water moving. So, when you quit your job, you said you're going to be. I said when you quit your job, you said you're going to be hustling the book side of things more.
Yeah.
Let's talk narratives. Let's talk books and stuff, because I'm sort of been dipping my toes in the water, sort of writing a paragraph here and there, just as they come to me.
Yeah.
And that's been interesting. It's interesting to find that when I'm not constraining, or not really constraining. Well, in a way it's constraining, but it's like way too big. It's like constraining myself to trying to develop an entire world when I just allow myself to just write a paragraph and leave it at that. It's surprising what all's there.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because there's a lot of different theories on that. Some people are way more about outlining. I'm more of a pantser. I believe is the technical term.
What is pantser?
The opposite of a plotter.
So it's just like